Well, hello and welcome to the Photography Pubcast. This is season 5, episode 13. There's 5 of us here again this week, but we're doing a bit of squad rotation. So Adam and Dave aren't here, but Daz and Jamie are. So, yeah, how are you guys? Everyone good?
Yeah, good.
Yep.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, excellent. Good.
I was just watching my uploading speed. It's
right.
a bit odd. A bit of an update from the beginning. Full fibre is in broadband for Wolfie Smith that I think was asking in the comments last week. It is in.
Yes, he did.
But I was just looking at my uploading speed, and I'm 85, 86%. I suppose that's not bad. I was expecting it to just to be like light speed uploading because the speed I've got now compared to what I had last week is completely different.
Sorry, Jamie, you're lagging. Could you repeat that a bit? Yeah, no, it catches up. Look, you look now, you're already up to 85, so it's racing along. And we're all the same. So, anyway, so do you want to talk about your broadband, Jamie, while we're here?
No, that was it. Just to say it's in. Yeah, for anybody that was interested, anybody that was really sad enough to be interested about my broadband, is just to satisfy them that it is now working. So I'm at 700 and some odd meg upload and 300 download, something like that at the moment. So yeah. Okay. Not really seeing much difference though, to be fair. So I don't know what all the fuss was about.
Yeah, you wait till you've got 15 devices going at once and you'll notice the difference. Yeah. So let's start with you two. We'll start with Daz then. How's your last couple of weeks been? Because you weren't here last week, Daz. How's your last couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's been pretty good, must admit, but I'm a little bit in pain. So if I'm a bit quiet tonight, that's why. And if I'm leaning like this, then that's why. I don't want people in the comments thinking, I'm just slouching all the way through. So it feels when I lean to the side, it's just a little bit easier. So
could be worse, Daz. You could be vaping.
Well, that is true. Yeah. Cut to somebody else now.
Yeah, you've let yourself down. You've let the team down. Yeah, you got no brain.
No brain.
Not good. Yeah. What's wrong then? Is it the back still?
Yeah, it's just really uncomfortable. So, but that'd be all right. It'd be fine. I'll get through.
Yeah, you'll be all right. You'll be all right. We won't keep you too long anyway.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah. What about you, Jamie? How's your last couple of weeks been? Why you been away?
Ailments as well on my front. Yeah, my absence last week was due to the back end of a flu bug that then turned into a sickness and diarrhea bug. So yeah,
literally the back end.
Literally the back end. Yeah. No, it went through most of us, to be fair, in the house. So we had a real bad bout of flu that knocked us off, and then that turned into something a little bit more dodgy. So it's been an interesting couple of weeks, but thankfully, touch wood, we're all through it now. Feeling much better.
Oh, excellent. All recovered. Yes. Good news. Stu, what about you? How's your week been?
Not bad. I went to the football on Sunday. Made hard work of beating Wolves. So that wasn't too bad. And then I've got no photography done because we were just saying before, the weather's been absolutely bloody awful. Boring gallery business stuff, kind of getting bits and bobs in order for the new sort of tourist season in a couple of months. So, yeah, just stuff like that.
Okay. Sam, what about you?
Yeah, nothing to report since last week, to be fair. I've not been out with a camera again since, a couple of weeks ago. So, yeah, boring week of work.
Wow, you guys haven't done much, have you? Well, me, personally, I've been out.
Actually, I've forgotten about that. I'm building...
I've won the lottery.
No, we're rearranging the garden a little bit, and we're relocating the vegetable patches. So nothing highly excited, but Helen's very excited about it. So it's looking really nice. So
is there any reason why you're relocating them? Is there a specific reason for it, or?
Well, I don't know if you remember. You might have seen you guys a couple of you have been to my house, but I used to have an observatory down the end of the garden.
Oh, on the lower field, wasn't it?
An observatory.
I had an observatory down there, and when I bought when I was planning for the observatory, I couldn't put it on the deck because there was trees, and
the deck of the yacht.
Stop it!
Have you got a big telescope down there?
I did have. Well, I didn't. I had quite a short refractor actually, which is what I used to use for the astrophotography.
Yeah,
Is that what you say to all the girls?
And a short dumpy one, but it done the job.
Again.
And so basically I had to raise this observatory high to get past. Now you're going to comment on it, to get past the summer house and to get past the it's true.
It's get a view over the West Wing. Yeah.
So, I wish I hadn't started this story now. I should have just sat here in pain.
Such problems.
It's terrible.
Just get the butler to get you another beer. That'll make you happy.
The amount of people who write in and say, "Please help! I'm distraught. I can't get the observatory high enough to go past the summer house." It's a common issue across broken Britain.
Yeah, I know it's
really
a first world problem.
Yeah,
so yeah, I'll stop now.
So is there a reason? Sorry that you've moved.
Yeah,
it.
so when I got rid of the observatory, we had this raised decking that's just kind of sat dormant. And so we've decided now to turn that into a vegetable patch, which is quite nice because it's at a higher level, so there's less bending down. So that's kind of what we're.
Plus, you can feed half of Cambridgeshire, which is
that's
helpful as well.
So that's what we've been doing.
Yeah. Well, I personally, I've been out and I have taken some of the best photos of my life.
In your dreams?
Yeah. Obviously, I haven't because I haven't got a camera. So I was waiting for someone to say, "Have you?" And then I'll say, "No, of course I haven't because I haven't got a camera." But no one played there. So no, yes, I had sciatica actually. Dad's touched the sciatica over the weekend. Couldn't put my own socks on for a couple of days.
Nasty.
But that's dispersed. Other than that, it's my daughter's birthday.
It's just
today.
an age thing, isn't it? Really, you know what I mean? We're starting to get to that age now where we're going to get more aches and pains. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
Starting for me now as well. So yeah, you guys don't stand a chance. Yeah.
Oh God. Well, wait till you get to our age, mate.
Wait till you get another 20 years down the line, mate.
I've only had it like the last time I had it was probably 15 years ago when I had a motorbike, and that was awful trying to get on and off a motorbike with sciatica to go to the doctor. It's terrible. But it's just played football Wednesday night, went to bed, fine. Woke up Thursday, fine. Went to bed Thursday night, fine. Woke up Friday morning, couldn't move. And it's like rolled out of bed, but it's once you're walking, it's okay. But I mean, it's like sitting anywhere with your legs bent and then trying to get up. Oh Jesus!
Yeah.
Do you do any stretching?
When at any point or
specifically? Well, just at any point.
No, not really.
That might.
I might stretch to get to the top shelf to pick up like the burger sauce or something. But other than that, no, not really. Is that what the problem is? You reckon I just don't stretch regularly?
Well, it might help doing regular stretching.
Bit of yoga.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it wouldn't go that far. But,
I like that on my muesli. So, anyway, other than that, I haven't really done anything. It's my daughter's birthday today, so we went for a little bit of light brunch, which was quite nice. But other than that, it's been very quiet. So Anyway, so that's really quite a week because normally that takes ages, and we've been going a whole 8 minutes. 8 minutes and 37 seconds.
Well, I've got my grandson's 3rd birthday tomorrow. So
3.
Yeah, mate, that's crazy, isn't it? How quick that's gone.
Wow, how fast has that gone?
Yeah. Yeah, and Helen's, because she used to. Right, so going back to the summer house, right? Oh, yeah. So that summer house has worn many hats. It's actually got a kitchen in it because that. So basically, I don't even want to tell this story now. Yeah, he's 3 tomorrow.
Until you finish.
Is that so your servants can eat?
No. Look, I've gone really red. It wasn't. All it was meant to be is that we built this shed that was too nice to be a shed. So I took the front out and I put doors in, and then we thought, well, we'll have that as a nice summer house.
Right.
Then Helen wanted to start making cakes, so we then fitted a kitchen in there with an oven and all that kind of stuff, and then
in the shed.
So it was a proper kind of
big shed.
it got kind of signed off, and it was all anyway.
Yeah.
So that's where she used to make her cakes for like a couple of years. So she's really good at kind of making cakes. So that's the whole reason I'm telling this long, boring story now. But she's made her grandson this really nice Lightning McQueen birthday cake, which kind of looks quite special, to be honest with you. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So was that in the summer house, or was that in another?
That wasn't in the summer house, no, because then after that, that's when I turned it into my kind of room for the astrophotography
observatory.
Yeah, because I used to control
where I go and gaze at the night sky.
No, because what I did, I bought a sofa bed, and then I put a sofa bed in there, and then what I could do is I could
rented it out as an Airbnb.
I could look at the computer, keep an eye on the astrophotography, and if the dome needed twisting, I could just get up and twist the dome, and yeah. So I bet you was really glad I wasn't on last week. Do you know what? I'm glad I wasn't on last week now. I'm starting to regret coming back.
I tell you, you were missed. We've had several people like Daz and Jamie. Where are Daz and Jamie? I'm like, the rest of us, we're not taking that as an insult, are we? You know,
they certainly won't be saying that this week. Yeah. Can we cut all that out?
No, definitely.
No, that's really interesting.
No, that's staying in, Daz. Sorry. Yeah, that's staying in. All right. So other than that, it's been pretty quiet. There's a little bit of admin. The only really thing that I wanted to talk about was the photography show, just to give everyone a reminder. We're going on the Saturday, right? Yeah.
That's the plan at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure I'll be there.
Okay.
I will not be there.
You won't be there, right? And you might not be there. Okay.
No.
But us three will be there, won't we?
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, that's the plan at the moment. Yeah,
cool. Okay, so that's the Saturday of the photography show, and that's it. And then obviously we thought, because it went so well last week, and because Jamie's looking forward to it so much, that we do another Ask Us Anything, because you love these off the cuff sort of.
My worst nightmare. This shit is my whoever came up with this stupid idea, Gary. Yeah, I did watch last week. Actually, really enjoyed it, and just thought, thank God I wasn't on that episode.
Yeah.
Dinner guests. Oh my God, come off it. What a load of rubbish.
I really like that.
Well, I was going to say, because you guys didn't have a chance to answer it, and you don't have to answer it, Jamie, but Daz, I know in the comments, in the topic, in the discussion group, you were sort of saying about the dinner guest one.
Well, I just enjoyed. I must admit, just remind me, who did you have to pick?
It was one photographer, one sports person, one musician, and one other. And they've all got to be alive.
Yeah. Okay. I'll rattle through this really quickly because I know you guys touched on it last week. But photographer, I was either going to pick you, Gal, or Stu, and then I decided, because it's my dinner party, I'm going to pick you both, right? Because I think you're like the guests, you see. That's the reason I've chosen you two. So my sports personality was going to be Derek Chisora.
Oh, God.
Because if anybody knows anything about boxing, you don't know what you're going to get with him. He could be polite and courteous, or tables could be flying. You could be wearing the pasta as a hat, you know.
So you brought Stu as the bouncer.
So I know Stu really likes his boxing. Yeah. So
I do.
So I thought, right, well, you two would appreciate that. My musician would be Dr. Dre, just because of the history that he's got, going all the way back to NWA, to Death Row Records, Suge Knight, Snoop Dogg, Tupac, and then discovering Eminem. But you know, I think it'd be fascinating. And then I know he's got to be alive, the actor, which he is alive. But as it's fantasy, I'd like to he's quite old now, and I'd like to take him back about 30 years. And that's Jack Nicholson.
Oh yeah, because Jack Nicholson's got Alzheimer's now, hasn't he? So
has he?
Yeah,
he's
had it for quite a long time, I believe.
So I think that'd be a pretty interesting combination.
It would be, yeah, because he was a Hellraiser,
and you two.
Yeah. Oh, excellent. And you don't want to go, Jamie, do you?
No, not on that one. I will comment on the claim to fame one though, because there's a few of those that I could reel off. I think you guys I've told you this before, but my cousin married the drummer in The Clash, Nicky Topper-Headon. So I went to his wedding, and I had a jacuzzi with Gary Mabbott, and the Tottenham player at the time. So that was in a hotel just outside their training ground.
Sounds a bit gay.
It was a bit gay. Yeah. I didn't realise at the time who he was, but there was other people started talking.
It makes no difference. Why are you having a jacuzzi with any man?
All right. Well,
in a hotel.
It was a hotel. You have a swim, you get in there, and then other people join you, don't they? And it happened to be him. So.
Oh, it wasn't just you two.
No, there was other people there as well. No,
Oh,
it just
okay.
wasn't a tete-a-tete with just me and him. It was,
jacuzzi.
no, it was a shared public jacuzzi.
Yeah, communal. That's right.
Yeah.
Did he
And
ask
then,
you to wash anything?
No. It didn't. It wasn't no where's the soap gags or anything. No.
No mention of ball control or anything like that.
No dribbling going on down there.
Okay.
No. And then, of course, I went to I had the honour of going to the BAFTAs TV Awards that was about 8 years ago now, 9 years ago, because one of the companies I worked with sponsored it, so they gave me tickets. So we got invited to that, and there was obviously lots of people there. I got pictures of me with Alan Carr. There was Ant and Dec, and anybody you want to reel off, they were all there. But that was quite interesting when you go to the loo and you're standing there next to
He's doing
Alfie
it again.
Moon.
Mate, you need to stop with these stories. Seriously.
I was just saying how odd it is when you go into a loo and there's all these celebrities in there hanging out next to you. So,
And again.
yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. We all have to go to a loo.
And who was hanging out the best?
Well, you know, I don't clearly look at stuff like that. Don't be daft. What you think I am gay?
Oh dear.
Yeah. So no. Anyway, I've got a few. So I'll answer that one, but I'm not answering the dinner guest one because that's ridiculous.
Plus, Jamie, you were also a local radio personality.
Yes. Yeah. But that's not a claim to fame, is it? Really? But yeah, I did that.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Well,
famous.
I was on Hereward Radio's breakfast show for actually getting on for a year. I played that character, the guy who'll do anything to be on the radio. Yeah, and I was doing lots of stunts essentially that were broadcast live on air, and then I did that, and then went into the office straight afterwards. So I did my radio shift, and then into the office straight afterwards.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, so that is a claim to fame, I would say. Yeah. Okay. Well, any others you want to pick up on? Or you guys, no, either of you. From last week.
I can't remember what they were. I must admit, I've got the memory of a goldfish, but I did enjoy listening last week.
Yeah, I thought it was a really good episode myself, actually. I quite enjoyed listening back to it. It's easy to edit as well, because when they're enjoyable, I mean, not saying that they're not all enjoyable, but some are easier than others. Anyway, right, so let's move on to this week, and we're going to do it again. We're going to do an Ask Us Anything again, because we've still got loads of questions left, and also none of us can be bothered to think up any, more serious topics. So, but actually, some of these are quite weighty. So, they could be quite good. So I think what we'll do is we'll start off with one, and now I've got to find it. Here you go. This one's from Robin Grant. So this one's not really a photography one, but I really wanted to start off with this one. And he said, thanks guys, great podcast. My question, when the time comes for you to meet your maker, how would you like to be remembered?
Jesus.
So
that's quite heavy. So to start off with.
I'm going to start this one with Sam.
Oh God. Okay. How would I like to be remembered? Well, that's cheerful, isn't it?
Well, it's just like, how would you want people to forget about the dying element? How do you want people to think of you? If someone's met you and they walk away, how do you think what lasting impression of Sam Bowes do you think that you'd like to give to these people?
Do we mean from a photography point of view?
No, I just think in general. In general. Yeah.
I'd hope they thought that I was not too irritating.
Set the bar low.
Yeah. I'd hope that maybe I'd quite like to sort of leave behind a bit of I don't know. Oh, you've caught me on the spot a wee bit there. So I mentioned last week that I'd quite like to produce a photography book at some point. And so maybe when I go, I'd quite like to leave behind certain bits of work which I'm proud of. Now, I don't really care how many people pay attention to it, so it doesn't have to be like a big bestseller or anything like that. But I'd like to have a few things that I've left behind, like a photography book. Obviously, I've got things like my PhD thesis and whatnot, which I don't expect anyone to ever read, but as things that are there that I've done that, you can maybe have a shelf and it's just kind of like, Sam did this and he did that and he did quite well. I think that would make me happy. I don't need to be well known.
I've read your thesis, by the way, Sam.
Did you?
Yeah, brilliant start, good middle, weak ending. I guessed who'd done it before we got sort of 3/4 of the way through.
I was bored by the end and I just wanted to finish it, and I wasn't actually expecting anyone to actually read it. So it was fine.
To introduce the character right near the end, and he turns out to be the one who did it, was just weak writing. So yeah, okay, all right. No, I like that. That's good. What about you, Daz? How would you like to be remembered?
Do you know what? I think it would be something along the lines of, he was an all right bloke, made me smile. I don't know, what more can you ask for, really? I mean, I'm never going to reach any kind of dizzying heights that I'm going to be some sort of superstar. So if I can keep my friends happy, keep my family happy, and they've got good memories of me, when I'm gone, then I've done my job.
Yeah, excellent. Fair enough. Stu, what about you?
Yeah, similar. I mean, you're not going to say you wish to be remembered for anything negative. So, I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know. An honest bloke that tried his hardest for people, and maybe wasn't frightened of taking on a challenge every now and again. But yeah, just an all right bloke that you could trust in, I guess. But but it's not really something that I've ever really thought about, to be honest.
No, well, it's not something you just sort of think, oh, do you know what?
How will I be remembered?
Yeah, how will I be remembered? Yeah. What about you, Jamie? You've had long enough to think now. What about you?
God knows. Sorry, Robin. I ain't got. Well, like these guys here saying, you just want to be remembered as a nice bloke, don't you? At the end of the day, I suppose you want to be remembered as a good dad as well. Kids want to look up to you and say he was best dad of, and everything he did was something that they would look up to, and you'd hope to bring your family into the future in a way that they're going to do well from your mentoring, I guess. But yeah, just a good bloke and a good dad. Yeah. Happy with that.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. I would say I'd just like to be remembered.
You certainly won't be forgotten.
No, exactly.
I don't know if that's the same thing. But
I think I agree with all you guys. I'd just like to be remembered as someone who's maybe made people laugh occasionally, been loyal, been trustworthy, been a good mate, been a good dad, been a good husband, and
So does that not go to show then that we're just pretty much all just grounded people? There's no kind of illusions of grandeur here. There's not something that we're pretending that we're not.
I hadn't finished, Daz.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go on. Sorry, go on, Gal.
No, I hadn't.
Give him time.
He was just building up there, wasn't he? Sorry.
And then,
there was a statue erected in Luton.
Yeah. No, I had finished. Yeah, no, I finished. Yeah. No, you're right. I think that's it, though, isn't it? It's like, I think if you want more than that, you're probably asking a bit much, aren't you? Really, a bit of maybe.
And I heard the other day that it's, which is quite true. I mean, I know, like, I've got a grandson, and he does have great grandparents still alive, but really, you're not really remembered. Most of us won't be remembered past our grandchildren.
No.
Because once you start getting to great grandchildren, they're not going to remember us. You're just, you're just a name. Oh yeah, you're just granddad's dad. That's it. So
absolutely,
make the most of it. Make the most of it,
remember
guys.
Your old great granddad with a bad back. In the end, he couldn't make it to the summer house.
It's buried in the vegetable patch.
Yeah.
That's what that'll be. I'll be planted down there.
Lovely potatoes. Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope that's answered your question, Robin. That was that's a good question. And it probably shows all of our characters, which is quite nice. I've got another one now from someone called On My Om, and I do believe this guy's name is Om. I can't remember his surname, but I've spoken to him before. He's put a question on here before. He said, my question for all of you, after all the experience with different focal lengths, if you had to pick a single focal length and use that as your one lens, one camera kit, what would it be? Okay, and let's start this one with Stu.
Sorry, is it like a prime? Is it just one focal length?
So
even on a zoom lens,
even on a zoom,
it's just
one focal length.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Let's start with you, Stu.
Oh God. I mean, I love shooting at both ends of the focal ranges. So, I mean, with it being landscape, I know, like Gary, you shoot street and stuff, so it changes it a bit. But if you just shooting landscape, if I had to think of one, it would probably be about, I don't know, 30 mil, 35 mil. It's some sort of focal length which gives you some degree of flexibility in terms of shooting the wider scene, but also not so wide that everything in the distance gets pushed back and distorted. So yeah, probably 30. We'll say 35 millimeter.
Okay, well, I'll jump in here as well because I agree with you. Mine for street landscape and woodland would be 35 mil. I think that's about the sweet spot. It's certainly a sweet spot for me for street. And I would look at it and say, well, if I need a wider vista, I'll just shoot a pano. Yeah. So, and I think 35 kind of is that sort of nice sweet spot where you're not too wide and you're not too, not too narrow. But for wildlife, might be a bit tricky.
Different thing, yeah.
Yeah, it might be a bit tricky. Yeah. So, Jamie, what about you?
I'd probably go a little bit longer than that because a lot of my woodland work I tend to shoot telephoto, and that's mainly because I want to get into the woodland rather than take a wider scene. I don't tend to do a lot of wide shots in the woodland, and again, most of that is so I don't get the sky in. So I'm sort of taking more sort of vignettes of the woodland. So I would probably go. I wouldn't want to go too long because that would restrict me if I do want to. Probably about 85, something like that. 85 mil. That would give me the ability to move closer to subjects if I needed to get a bit tighter on some areas, and also give me a little bit of width if I wanted to do that. But yeah, I think 35 would be far too wide for me for my sort of go-to woodland stuff. So yeah, about 85.
That's really interesting because that really signals what you consider yourself to be now, doesn't it? Because if you said I'm a landscape, if you said if you were doing landscape, 85 is too much. Oh, yeah. So you consider yourself now generally?
Well, no, not really. It's because that's what I do most of, really. So I don't do a lot of wide landscape stuff. Doesn't mean to say I'm not a landscape photographer. I'd love to be out there and doing the wider stuff, but I just don't get the opportunity. We've not got the vistas around here to do it. So most of my stuff is woodland. So that's why I chose that. Yeah.
Okay. Sam, what about you?
I'm probably going to chime the same as you guys and say 35, but I was very, very tempted to go 200 because actually I'd say what I would, if I could only shoot at one focal length, probably the one which I enjoy photographing the most is probably around about 200. Definitely the lens I use the most is probably 70 to 200. But the caveat to that was I do such a large amount of work at a wider angle. And again, 35 being the optimum there. As you say, it's the sweet spot between not being too wide, but also, being able to get things in. So the caveat for me was if I could shoot at 35, and we're talking about this is the only focal range I could use for the rest of my life, then I'd be thinking, well, camera sensors are going to get to the stage where I can just crop in if I need to go telephoto. So for that reason, I'll go 35, but I was quite tempted to go 200.
Okay. And Daz, finally with you.
Yeah, it's awkward coming.
Tough one for you.
It's hard when you're coming in last because I've got too much time to think about it. So and I was thinking, oh God, yeah, perhaps like 35. And then I thought, oh, well, yeah, but I always shoot kind of quite close to the 100 mark, like 70 to 100. And yeah, I've had far too much time to think about this, and I've gone round in circles. So I'm going to say 600 mil, and I just want to shoot wildlife.
Just shoot wildlife.
That's it, because I use everything like we all do, from 35 mil to pretty much up to 200. So it's really difficult to try and pin it down on one. I can understand why you guys are thinking 35 mil. And that is a good choice, but I'm just going to go, to keep my brain from exploding, I'm just going to go with 600 mil for wildlife.
So if someone pinned you down and said, right, you can only choose one genre, it's going to be wildlife, is it?
No, not at all. It's landscape when I'm not at home.
Right. Okay.
But when I'm here, it's wildlife all day long. You've heard me say this a million times on the podcast. It just doesn't inspire me around here. Yeah. So yeah, it's wildlife in kind of Cambridgeshire, Suffolk, Norfolk. But as soon as I get out the Shire, it's landscape.
Fair enough. What about you, Gary? That question to you, what would you pick?
Honestly, at the moment, I think street.
Thought you'd say that.
Yeah. I'm leaning that way more and more. I have to say, I don't know if I mentioned this actually. I was on a podcast, recorded a podcast last Sunday with the guys from the Photo Peeps, and we were going through my photos. I can't remember if I said it on this or not. I've said it somewhere, but I'm finding myself more and more now that I'm less. I still love woodland, but I'm less fussed now with landscape. And although I'm really happy with the shots that I've taken in the past, and I do quite have a hankering to go to a waterfall. I haven't been to a waterfall for ages, but when we went up Crimpy, you remember when we went up Crimpy a couple of years ago? That's probably the last time I've really done a real serious sort of landscape shot. And I got up there and I was like, it's a fantastic view, but I'm not feeling it shooting it. I'm not getting that excitement from shooting it. And I do get that on a misty morning in the woodland, or a good autumnal morning in the woodland. But I really enjoy street. I'm just loving that at the moment. I'm finding because it can be so much more creative in street. It's quite, landscape and woodland is quite sort of very steady. Things don't change, do they? Like trends. There are trends, but they're small trends. So you might have, like, for instance, we had a trend in woodland a while back with the autumn effect, but it's not a dramatic difference from what people were taking 50 years ago. But street, there's so much you can do. There's you can totally change your style. Like, you can flip it from one day to the next. One day you can shoot wide angle, focus on the architecture or, the environmental sort of composition. And the next day you can do abstract. The next day you can do portraits. And there's so much to it for me. That's yeah. So yeah, it'd be street. That's the answer to that question. Thank you for asking.
I thought it would be, but it's interesting to get that view from you.
Just don't sit in a pub with your bag. Right. Okay, so thank you very much for asking that question, Om. Very much appreciated. I thought we'd struggle a bit more with that, but actually we're all pretty, I think we go with this, except for Daz, who's, gone at the far end of
I wussed out, didn't I? I chickened out there.
You did. Here's one. Just going to throw this one in. It'll be pretty quick because I don't know if any of us know the answer to this. Ian Spendlove, he asks, he said, quick question. Does it make a difference to your YouTube income if we watch a skipped advert or watch it to the end, or skip an advert or watch it to the end? Does anyone know that?
Well, none of us have a YouTube income, so we wouldn't know.
This is true. I don't think it makes a difference, does it?
No, not at the scale these views are at. No, not even remotely.
No. And to be honest with you, even if it did, I would say don't go through the pain of watching an advert all the way through just for 0.4 of a pence. For the rest of us, it's fine. No, so yeah, there you go. We've answered that question very briefly. Okay, Martin Goff Jones. I'm literally just picking them as I see them. Has there ever been a moment where you've been out taking photos and you found that you were quite terrified and thought that you've got yourself into a situation that you might not get out of in one piece? Oh, Sam, I mean, are we going back to the tent one, or is this going to be a different one?
No, I was going to say I met up with a bunch of guys in Glen Cove this one time, and they invited me to join their Pubcast podcast, and I was really worried I wasn't going to be able to get out of it.
And you're still trying to work out a way, aren't you?
Still trying to claw my way out.
Have you had any where you've been terrified? I mean, not necessarily where you think, "Oh my god, I can't get out of this," but have you ever been spooked out on a shoot?
I have.
Have you? Go on then.
Well, not of my own doing, but yeah, I can remember not long after, probably about, I don't know, it was less than a year into doing photography, and I'd gone up one of the fells, Fleetwith Pike above Buttermere, and it was weird because it was right at the start of May, and there was loads of snow about. And anyway, I'd gone up there, and I hadn't at that point much experience of the mountains and stuff like that. I was quite ignorant to it, and I'd gone up there anyway, thinking because it was May there wouldn't be much issue. And anyway, there was a lot of snow up there, and I got my timings wrong coming back down, and I hadn't taken a map with me. And the walk up there is fairly straightforward, but when there's a lot of snow, obviously the paths get covered and you can't see anything. And anyway, coming back off the mountain, I'd just wandered off the line of the path, even though I couldn't see it. I'd wandered off the line of the path, probably no more than, I don't know, 20 degrees, something like that. But I'd followed away from this path for a good 15, 20 minutes. And by this point, it had got very dark. There was no moon out, so it was completely dark. And before I knew it, I looked back up the side of the mountain, and it was just a sea of white. And I couldn't get a mark point from any of the fells around me because it was that dark. And I was like, oh, shit, I'm actually stuck here. And all I can see is a sea of white as far as you can see, basically. And I had good phone signal, but I texted the missus, and I said to her, I said, look, just don't panic. But I might be a bit late home tonight. I just need to find my way back up to this path. And it was really embarrassing, actually, because, as I said, I'd not long got into photography and all of that, but my father-in-law's ex-mountain rescue. And before I started going up the fells and stuff, he told me about, taking basic stuff, compass and that sort of thing. And I hadn't taken any of it with me or a head torch. And anyway, I got back down to the car really quite late. And it took me quite a while, actually, to get back onto the path, because where I got to, it was like knee deep, getting up to waist deep. And it's the only time that I sort of had a bit of panic, because if you've done any, mountain walking, especially in snow, it doesn't take much to go down a drift, or, you can get stuck there, turn an ankle or anything, and you've really got a problem. So yeah, anyway, that's probably the only time when I've been out with the camera and genuinely sort of got into a little bit of bother. But yeah, a bit embarrassing more than anything.
Would you say that it was your I'm trying to say this, I'm trying to be diplomatic.
No, you don't.
Was it your? Did you get back onto the path by luck, or did you work it out?
A bit of both, yeah, but more luck. More luck, I would say, to be honest with you. Yeah. My general kind of approach was, I've come from up there, so I'm just going to sort of walk back roughly, and it took quite a while, but there was no skill involved.
Right. Okay. Daz, what about you? Because I'm sure you've had some hairy moments, haven't you?
No, I mean, I think the question was about photography. I've had a couple like Stu, one not too long ago, which I spoke about on the pubcast when I went up U Barrow in November last year. And then there was another time before that, a long time before that. Me and Helen, I think we was kind of around about 20 years old, where we didn't have a clue, about the fells, and the conditions just changed, and the cloud rolled in, and I didn't have a map or compass. Obviously, there was no phones back then. I got totally kind of disorientated. Ended up kind of scrambling down the side of a fell, which could have been incredibly dangerous. So I've had them kind of moments, more fell walking. When it comes to photography, the only thing that I could think of then, and I was in no danger, but I was in Norway. I don't know, it was about 4 years ago, and I was on my own. Helen stayed back when I went out, and we had I think it was temperatures ranging between kind of -10, -17, and I was on Senja, and I went down to, it's like a very rocky beach, and I had crampons on, but and I was on these rocks, and these rocks were beautiful, and I wasn't close to the edge, nowhere near, but I wanted to get closer, but I was so nervous. I just thought, no, because if something comes in and takes me in here, because it was so slippery, I thought I can't even risk it. So there's been times where the conditions have made it a little bit sketchy, but I wouldn't say that I've ever kind of put myself in danger. I've got, once you get to a certain age, you like to think that you've got a sensible gene, and that does kick in.
I'll let you know when I get to that age. I'm not there yet. Jamie.
The only thing that springs to mind is probably a little bit like Stu, a little bit naivety on my side in terms of my early years of getting into photography and not really planning where I was going to go, not really planning the route properly, not really looking at what time I need to be where. And I went to the Peaks, and I stayed overnight in a B&B, and I was going up Stanage Edge. That was my plan. I've never been there before. I think it was the first ever time I've been to the Peak District, if I'm honest. And so I set the alarm nice and early. I hadn't really scoped out what time sunrise was at a particular point, or where the sun was rising. None of that. It was just rock up and go up Stanage Edge, and it'll be fantastic. I've seen a guidebook, all of these beautiful pictures in, so it's going to be easy, So anyway, I rocked up in the dark, found a car park. I could see just about in the distance the sort of the shadows of the edge of the rocks, or because it's quite a sharp face to Stanage Edge.
Yeah.
So I could see that at a distance, and I knew roughly where I wanted to go in terms of, right, okay, I can see I want to be over there. There was a path to follow as I got out of the car, so I started going down this path, and it was dark, and I think it must have been summertime, because there was heather out, and it was quite the walking towards Stanage. There was lots to walk through in the undergrowth. And I didn't have a head torch, nothing like that. I wasn't prepared at all. There was a little bit of moonlight coming through, just enough so I could see the outline of the edge, which I was heading to. And as I was walking across, I lost the path completely, and just went along, walking through the heather as far as I could get. I was just literally heading to a dip in the edge that I thought, okay, that's where I'm going to climb up when I get there. So, but literally out of the path. And I got to a point where I thought, shit, I ain't got a clue actually how I'm going to get to there, because the path had gone, the route was getting fuller and fuller of heather. And all of a sudden, this either partridge or a pheasant just flew up right in front of my face in the pitch dark. It was silent, and that the bejesus out of me. I've never been so frightened in my life at that particular moment, when you're quite vulnerable anyway, because I wasn't really sure where I was, how I was going to get. And then this bloody partridge flew up.
It's funny when you were saying that, oh, the heather was out, and I was walking there, and I was thinking, oh, there's a lot of kind of ground dwelling birds in that heather.
Exactly.
So I know exactly, because I've been spooked there a couple of times, because obviously they're very quiet, and you're walking through, and then they jump out
right at the last minute. Yeah, Yeah, so that frightened me, and then I ended up finding my way to the edge of the edge of Stonehenge Edge, and it wasn't at the point where most people go up. So I literally had to rock climb with my camera bag on and the back with the tripod up the edge to find a route to the very top. And I was thinking at the time, you're stupid. You know, you've got a big heavy backpack on. You've got no experience whatsoever of rock climbing, but you're climbing up to the top of this edge just to take a photograph. You know, what are you playing at? But I did scramble up there and got to the end. So, but it was.
And then the trouble is though, you get up there, because I did Stonehenge Edge. Stonehenge Edge is like my third video I ever did. I went up for sunrise, and then you realise that the sunrise doesn't come over the edge. It's the other side on the flat bit.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
so you're like,
yeah.
I was like, I should have come here for sunset.
Yeah,
it's totally the wrong time of day for this shot. It's like,
Yeah.
what am I doing? Yeah, I did that as well. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But do you know what? Before I ask you, Sam, I'll jump in there, because the Peak District is mine as well, because I went to the Roaches, and this is really early on in my photography sort of journey. Sorry, Dave. And I was at the Roaches is a really scary place when it's dark and you're on your own. It's like, it's an odd sort of, there's a like some sort of old abandoned building there, and it's really spooky, and there's funny noises and all sorts of stuff going. So it's dark, and you're like, I hadn't been out much, you know, in the dark, because I'd only just sort of started taking up this like stupid photography idea, and I was like hearing all these noises going, what could that be? What could that be? Oh my God, there's a house there. What if there's someone in there with an axe? So that was quite scary. And then the other scary incident I had was literally a few weeks ago when I was in London with someone, and we were in Brick Lane, and there were these three guys on the corner. Now, if you're an experienced anybody in London, but specifically someone who takes a lot of photos, you can see these are not the people you want to be photographing. Do you know what I mean? You look at them and you think, yeah, I'm going to walk away. But the person I was with were like, oh no, yeah, can I get your shot? Can I get your shot? And this guy, I could see him getting. So I ended up going over to him, sorry, mate, you know, no offense. And we ended up having a conversation. He's like, I wasn't a criminal. He's like, I didn't start it. And I'm like, oh God, here we go. Like this is not going to be good. But in the end, I said, for some reason, can I take your shot, mate? I'd really appreciate it. I got a really good shot of him, and he was happy to take it, but he was really not happy that someone was trying to take a shot without asking. And that could have gone, I think, one way or the other, but I kind of dealt with it reasonably well. So yeah. And then we'll come to you, Sam, and then I'll come back to myself with the really terrifying moments. Right, I'll come back.
I've got a bit of a spooky story as well. Actually, we'll go on, Sam.
Yeah, we'll do Sam, and then we'll do you, and then we'll come back to me, because mine, I guarantee, are going to be way scarier than any of yours. Right, Sam.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to photography moments, I talked about for moving in the middle of the night on the top of Cornwall last week, so I won't go over that again. I had a bit of a hairy moment when Hannah and I were out photographing mountain hares in the Cairngorms, because we had a blizzard blow in, and there was no phone reception, and we were on different parts of a hill photographing because we didn't want to be in the same place. We were photographing different hares at the time, and the blizzard came in, and it was literally just a whiteout. I couldn't see anything. I had a rough idea of which direction the path was in, so I knew that if the worst came to the worst, I'd be able to find the path back to where the car was, but I couldn't contact Hannah. And I basically just had to sit, and I sat probably for about 10 minutes, just not being able to see beyond a meter away. And then it just cleared up slightly, and then I managed to just about see where the path was and managed to find Hannah. So that was slightly hairy. But before I took up photography, I had quite a scary camping and hiking evening. So I went to there's a bothy, I think it's called Strathcalach Bothy, which is between the end of Sandwood Bay and Cape Wrath Lighthouse. So it's kind of the last bothy on the Cape Wrath Trail, if you're doing it north. So it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's quite a long way out. And anyway, I hiked out to it and camped in it, which I've done a couple of times. But on this occasion, I was on my own. And if anyone's ever been to that bothy, it's quite a well-known bothy. But it's well, one of the things it's known for is it used to belong, or it didn't. It used to be the home of a hermit called Sandy, who my parents actually knew. But he was a bit of a strange guy, and he sort of didn't like people coming and staying in the bothy. So he used to have a bit of a reputation for scaring people off. But he's painted the inside of it with lots of murals, which are quite strange murals. So it's quite a spooky place, and it's rumored to be haunted by Sandy and those sorts of things. And anyway, I don't really, I don't believe in ghosts and things, but I stayed there on my own in the middle of the night. I think it must have been March, so it was quite cold. And just the noises that you hear are so weird, because I was always thinking there'd be someone hiking in the middle of the night coming and joining me in the bothy. So I always just imagined I could hear voices coming over the moors in the middle of the night at like 2 a.m. And there's a stream which runs past the bothy, which makes lots of little bubbling noises. And I could swear I could just hear people talking for the whole night. And there was no one there. Every now and again, I'd get out and go and have a look, and it was quite a clear night, so I could see quite far, and there was nothing. But it was to that point of I can hear people talking outside the bothy, so I'd get out and go and have a look at it. And it was one of the strangest, kind of spookiest nights I've had.
Do you know what like Glenn from Black Crag? He says that every time he camps next to a stream, he's convinced there are people outside the tent.
Yeah.
I think it is something to do with the sound of the stream. After a while, it sounds like, but he's got out before now.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Word of advice, though. Word of advice to you and to Glenn. If you think you can hear people outside, just don't go out. Stay in. Why would you go out? Oh, let's go and see if there's dangerous criminals out there. Oh, it's going to be.
Yeah, because that 1 millimeter thick nylon's really going to protect you, isn't it? Against the axe murderer.
But they might not. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they might think it's an abandoned tent. I don't know. Yeah, my snoring would scare them away anyway.
You're right.
Yeah,
congrats for that.
Is that it, Sam? You got any others?
Yeah, that's it. No, that's it.
Yeah, go on then, Daz. What's yours?
No, well, it's a. In fact, I've got 2, but I won't bore you with the second one. But the first one,
does it involve the summer house?
Because
if it does, I'd leave it.
This is genuinely scary, and it still kind of makes me a little bit, even today. And it's nothing scary about it. But when I was a kid, so of course everything in your imagination gets kind of blown up. And my brother, who's kind of sadly passed away, he passed away quite young, or very young, 29. But he was 12 years older than me. And he used to do a lot of office cleaning in London. And he had one job, which was a theatre. And he used to open up, and he used to disappear upstairs to the offices. And it was my job to kind of walk down, like, the auditorium, would it be, cars where you've got the seats either side, and obviously you've got the. So I'm walking, if it is called the auditorium, walking down there towards the stage, and behind the curtain, that's where the big bank of lights were. But as I was walking to the stage, on the stage used to be a coffin and a wheelchair. That was the only 2 props on this stage. And I used to be terrified going. I used to put the lights on, but then when I turned round to walk back, that's when I got really scared, because now my imagination is what is behind me. And I didn't know whether to turn round and look to make sure nothing was coming out of the coffin, or just keep going in case something was coming out the coffin. But I just remember that fear that I had as a kid. And even now, when I think about it, I kind of think, oh, God, yeah, if it was now, it wouldn't bother me. But I kind of had all them feelings. So
it's weird. I was going to say something else, but when you're talking about your imagination runs wild when you're a kid, I don't know if any of you have ever had anything like this, but I was going on holiday with my dad. So there's my dad and the rest of my family. And my dad said he was knackered. He was driving a car, and he said, "I'm dying on my feet." and I genuinely, for the whole holiday, thought he was going to die. Because I've never heard that phrase before, and parents' words carry so much weight, don't they, when you're little? And I was genuinely worried that he was going to die. I was like, yeah. Anyway, no, the scariest moment, I can beat you all. I can beat you all on the scariest moment. There's nothing scarier than coming back from a photography trip needing the loo and not knowing where the toilet is. That, my friend, is fear. That is fear. There's a little bit of fear in there. There's a little bit of desperation, and there's a lot of embarrassment. And I've done it several times. Like, for instance, I mean, I was so lucky in Scotland. Oh my God. I was so lucky. I happened across those Portaloos. Yeah. If I hadn't happened across those Portaloos, I don't know what would have happened. I wouldn't have fancied you guys getting back in the car and driving back to me to where we were staying. And then there was one time coming out of Wyoming Brook, and I can only say sorry for McDonald's in Sheffield. But yeah, Christ, nothing scarier than that. Anyway, moving on.
We can cut this bit out if you want. This is just for you guys if you want. And if you, but I don't know if did I tell you the story? I was in London. It was on Holloway Road, and basically I had to go in there over the Christmas period. I was the only one. The place had closed down. I was the only one. But I don't know if I've told. Stop me if I've told you this story. But they told me that it was haunted, right, by the caretaker who committed suicide, and now he kind of, he roams all the buildings, all the floors. Have I told you this story?
No.
So of course I don't believe any of this. But, when you go into a building and you unlock and you shut the door and there's no cars on the road because it's all over the Christmas period. And then I walked over to the lift, and next to the lift, there was this notice to our loving caretaker who sadly passed away. So now I'm thinking, of course, there's nothing to this story. They're just winding me up. But to make myself feel better, on the reception counter, there was like a tannoy thing. And I pressed the tannoy and I just went, echoed through the building. Unbeknown to me, they'd had a lot of break-ins. So they'd employed a security guard to stay there all over Christmas. So he's on the top floor, I'm on the ground floor. So now he's absolutely bricking himself, thinking that they've got... So he's come creeping down the stairs. I'm oblivious to him being there. I'm just thinking about the ghost. And we bumped into each other. We walked around the wall and bumped face to face. Well, I don't know who screamed the loudest. But I think my money may have been on me. But, yeah.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
Yeah.
And you wanted that cut out, Daz? No, that's staying in.
That's
definitely staying in. All right. Well, thanks for that, Martin. I hope that we've answered your question there thoroughly. Okay, so we've got one now from Colin Traveller, who's he's a real commenter on our channel. Asks a lot of questions. And I'm going to answer this one quite quickly. And he says, when it comes to making videos, I've never seen the point of filming yourself, opening gates, walking past, etc., then having to trek back for the camera. Why waste time when it's better spent taking pics? Well, Colin, I like it.
Especially in slow motion.
Yeah. And can I say that it doesn't take as much time as you think because I've slowed it down. So although it may look like I'm taking a long time to get there, I'm actually getting there at normal pace. So we're all right. I do understand your point. I do understand that point. People can produce a video and do a bit too much, but I think you've got to set the scene, haven't you? If if you're a creative person, you want to set the scene a little bit. Just to say, here's me, just little segues between each bit. I don't think there's anything that wrong with it. Do you guys?
No. I mean, I get why people get bored of it because everyone's doing it all the time. But you've got to set the scene and tell the story. You can't. Otherwise, you could just argue, what's the point of videoing it at all? You could just show the photographs.
Just show a load of photos.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I get why people get annoyed by it, but at the same time, apart from anything else, I mean, when I'm making a video, I don't want people to be listening to me rabbiting on all the time, so I fill it up with B-roll so we don't have to listen to me. So
yeah, and I kind of like it. I enjoy it. I enjoy that process. I'll be honest with you. You don't see many bits of B-roll of me walking up a hill because then I've got to walk back down, get the camera, and walk back up again. So, there's not much of that, but I quite enjoy it. I think there's something to be said. I wish I still had a drone. I'd love to do a bit more drone work.
It's a fine line, though, isn't it, between bridging the gap between different scenes and it taking over the video.
Yeah. You've still got it. The message has still got to be about the photography. But I used to watch one guy. I love him. I mean, I love him as a bloke. But his video intros were like 4 minutes long. There'll be like a 4-minute long video of him just walking to somewhere, and you'd be like, okay, maybe get on with it now. No, we're doing a bit more. Okay.
There's a few sort of rules which I've started to try and adhere to in my videos when I do them. One of them is that I have to have started talking within 30 seconds of the start of a video.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
you've been looking at the YouTube metrics.
Well, I mean, to be fair, anyone who's watching, most of my people have stopped watching me before 30 seconds anyway, so it's like it just sifts them all out.
There's a big thing, isn't there? Saying about 30 seconds. You've got to get your hook. You've got to get your hook. You've got to be in there. I think it's less than that. I think it's like you need to be 10 seconds in. People need to know what your video is about. There's got to be a hook within 10 seconds.
Yeah, it's assuming people have got no attention span.
Probably even less now with TikTok brain.
Yeah. Yeah. Photo done. Sorry, Sam. What were you saying?
The other thing is I try not to have shots too long, because in the past, if you look at my older videos, I've got way too long shots. But these days, I sort of have a cut every 4 seconds or so, and I just try and keep it to that. But one of the things I was going to say, I sort of have the opposite problem. I was in the cinema recently watching the adverts before the film came on, and I couldn't keep up with how fast the cuts were because everything now is cut so quickly. Whether it's because of the sort of TikTok generation or whatnot, or gaming generation, people's brains seem to be moving quickly. But I find all these adverts now are cut so quickly that I just can't follow them. So it's sort of other way.
I kind of cut to music now, but it used to be a thing where it used to be 4s and 8s, 4 seconds and 8 seconds, and no more than that. 8 for your long takes and 4 for your short ones. But I kind of cut to the beat now, really. So, but I'm doing less and less. I think back in the day, I was looking at a video the other day from someone, and I was like, I quite like a lot of this stuff. And I thought, I used to do all this, all the sort of fancy transitions and and I do less and less of that now. I'm a lot more like, just get on with it. I still do a bit of walking and recording, but I do very little of the fancy stuff, especially in London. I see loads of clever, let's overlay where we are let's do this and let's I do lots less of that nowadays.
It's almost become retro, isn't it? That sort of original model that was set out with YouTubers of, as you say, opening gates, walking along, and then picking up your camera, moving it, and then walking towards it. And that sort of first, 20 seconds of the video was always very, very samey. I do admire people. I've said this before about people like Tom, when he films the vehicle coming in and out of the car park, and then he drives off for quite a while. You can just imagine, he's going to get around that bend, and then he's got to reverse and drive all the way back, go back to that car park, pick his camera back up again. And even James Burns in the past, I've said to him on his channel, where he's obviously put his camera down the bottom of a fell, and then he's walked quite a way up the track, up the fell, and filmed himself walking quite a way, and then he's obviously got to come all the way back down again to pick his camera up and then walk all the way back up again. So it's, if it makes better content, then albeit, but to me that's a bit too far when you're going into that much effort, really.
Dedication to the cause, that's what that is, isn't it?
But
Dedication.
I don't have a problem with kind of like the old, like we're using gates as an example, but I don't have a problem with that at all, because I think if you're going to watch somebody's video, you want to know kind of where they are and the surroundings and stuff, and it just adds to it. I'd much rather have something like that than just a talking head for 15 minutes. It kind of adds. And I'd say what I quite like as well is when people do a talking head, but then there's lots of B-roll laid over the top, you know. So you've still got what they're saying, but then straight away, you know, you're seeing what they're seeing, or you're seeing what they was visualizing earlier. I like that. I find that really engaging. But there is a fine line of just being a 15-minute talking head or a 4-minute intro of opening gates.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I'll tell you what annoys me, really annoys me, and I can't help it. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be annoyed by it, but it's little things when you make videos, right? It's the little things when you watch someone else's video, and say, for instance, you've got a nice bit of music going on in the background, and then it cuts to the person, and the music just goes and stops. Like, fade it out. Fade it out. It only takes a second just to fade it out.
That doesn't bother me as much as when there's a bed playing underneath the person talking.
Oh, and you can't hear them.
And you can't hear what they're saying. And I'm just thinking, when you're editing that, surely you must realise you've got to look at your volume levels and realise the volume of the bed is the same level as your voice.
Yeah.
Lower it down or get rid of it.
Or just, I have this thing where I go, -6, right? For all you vloggers out there, it's a little bit of advice, right? -6 the music decibels when you're doing the B-roll, right? And then as the B-roll fades, you drop it to -25 slowly over the fade, right? -25 for a little bit while you're talking, and then slowly drop it to -100, and then it's gone. Right, and that's how you do it. You don't just go -6 and leave it at -6, or -6 nothing. There's nothing worse than -6 nothing. I'm like, oh my God, so how abrupt. Or the other one that really annoys me, and I'm sure I've said this before, is when someone's talking and they're cutting two clips together, because everyone goes, well, if I say something and then I go, oh my God, I've messed up halfway through. Let me carry on from this bit, where you splice it together and you put a bit of B-roll over the top, and no one will notice the difference, will they? But don't put B-roll over the top that has no reference to anything you're talking about. Put a bit of B-roll over the top that's got reference. There used to be one guy who used to do it all the time. He'd go, right, so here I am in, I'm exaggerating here. Here I am in Scotland, right? And here's the first part of the video. And then I've gone to, I don't know, Texas, right? And there's a bit of talking in Texas where he's cut a bit of drone footage from Scotland. You're in Texas now, man. Use Texas B-roll. What's the matter with these people? So yeah, come on. I charge £35 an hour if anyone's interested in learning how to edit videos properly, just to let you know. So yeah. But thanks, Colin, for that. Has anyone else got anything to add on that one from Colin? No?
No.
All right. Well, thanks, Colin. Much appreciated. And we'll have another question from Colin now as well, because he's prolific. He's a prolific question asker. He says, if you could go on a 1-month photography vacation, where would you go?
Oh, 1 month.
Yeah, 1 month.
So is that one location for a month, or is that one country for a month?
Well, I'm going to say one location within a radius of, say, 20 miles.
I think
Colin didn't say that. I'm putting that in.
I think for me, it would be the colder climates. So I think, I don't know, it would be something like Iceland or Norway. Something like that. Because I think, it can change quite quickly. Especially when I've been to Iceland before, and you've got like the Diamond Beach, and every day, you're going to get new icebergs kind of wash up and stuff. And yeah, so I think for me, it would be the colder climates.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I don't think a month is quite a long time. I was gonna say Madeira, because that's the only place I've been to that I really want to spend a lot more time there as a photographer rather than just as a tourist, because it's such a beautiful island and it's got such wide scope from a photography, from seascapes to mountains to woodland and the rest of it. I would like to spend, as I say, months, probably a stretch, but I don't know, 2-3 weeks, I guess, in terms of just really exploring it properly and getting to know the island and getting to know, and particularly around the woodland bit in Finale. It's such a massive area that, everybody goes to the same place, but I'd like to spend a lot of time just exploring some of the non-common areas to look at for some really unique stuff. So, yeah, that would probably be my choice, but maybe not a month. That's a long time.
Okay, I'll go if you want. I think New York. I'd love to go to New York.
Have you been there before?
No, never.
Fuck.
I'd love to. What is it?
Sorry, I swore there. Sorry.
Yeah.
We went to New York, and it's an amazing place. But after like 4 days, you just think, oh, just get me home. I've had enough now. It's just too busy.
Is it?
It was just. I mean, it might be different for you, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think I can't remember if we had 4 nights or 5 nights there, but you know, I wouldn't go all that way for 3 nights, but 3 nights would have been perfect for me.
Yeah. Well, I just think someone who I did some street photography with last month was in London for a month. So they're an American and they were in London for a month, and every day they did street photography every day. And the amount of amazing shots they got from that day, from that month. Because I was thinking I could do London. I could go and stay in London and just go, right, focus on street photography every single day, street architectural, and do something different. And I could just imagine all of the diverse shots I could get. But I just fancied New York. Either that or Thailand, but not worry about photography. Just go and get drunk and spend time on beaches and, you know. Although Thailand's a bit sleazy, isn't it, actually, saying that?
Do you know what? I was thinking about Thailand, funny enough, the other day, because there's 2 people at work that I know that have just come back from Thailand. And it's meant to be absolutely beautiful. So I think it's whatever you want it to be, isn't it? If you want it to be sleazy, you can go to a sleazy part. If you want to go to a beautiful part, which they went to, it's that as well. So
I always used to say Thailand would be my dream destination because of those sea stacks. You know, those amazing sea. What was that Bond film? There was a Bond film like Tomorrow Never Dies or something, and they're in Thailand with all these, and they're just amazing. They're like just these columns coming out of the sea. They just look like Avatar. Just yeah, I think I'd love to do that. No, New York. I'm going for New York. I'm sticking with New York.
Go for it, mate.
Yeah, Stu.
Well, given I'm going there next week, probably Lofoten. Even though these days it's becoming a bit more popular. My mate Dem, who's out there, who I'm running the workshops with, he's in the, I can't remember if I'd said or not, but he's in the extremely fortunate position of, he's now, well, by the time he finishes up the workshops with me, he'll have been out there 6 weeks.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, and I've obviously been getting the messages and stuff while he's been there, and he's already in the time he's been there seen wildly different conditions over the sort of 4 weeks he's been there. So is it not 3 weeks he's been there now? He's seen snow, he's seen changeable light, he's seen, you know, everything. And like that's
his Instagram lives.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? And it goes back to what I was saying on one of these episodes a few weeks ago about, you know, you can't substitute time in a location. Do you know what I mean? If you have enough time in a location like that, you can get some absolutely amazing stuff. And like Daz was saying, you know, colder climates, it's a bit more manageable, I would say. So yeah, I'm going to say Lofoten.
And that leaves you, Sam.
Yeah, well, I'd echo Daz as well. I'd say Iceland, and I've only been to Iceland once, and I think it was 4 or 5 days to actually spend doing photography there, which was nowhere near enough. And it's one of those places where you've got the locations which everyone knows, the places that everyone goes to do the photographs, but there's so much more to it. I mean, I've mentioned Theo Bosboom's work on this channel before, but he's got a book on Iceland, and you have a look through that book, and he does a lot of more intimate shots, and it's the kind of thing that I suspect you get that work by spending a lot of time in a location and getting to know the landscape, and you see beyond, because if you've only got a few days to spend there, you spend the time just sort of making sure you get to the locations that you really want to visit and try and take shots there. But if you can spend an extended amount of time in a location, you can really get to understand the landscape a lot more and understand where those more intimate shots are. And Iceland is a place where I mean, I just fell in love with it that short time when I was there, and would love to go back and would love to spend a huge amount of time there just getting to know the landscape and different conditions and try and take some more unique shots of it, which are away from those well-known locations that everyone knows. And I think, you know, that would be the place. And it's just a great place. It's just a lovely place to spend time. So, yeah.
So I think as well, when you got them kind of countries, Iceland, Norway, you know, Sweden to a degree, you know, but when you've got them kind of, it's not just like what the photos that you can get during the day. If you was there for a month, the chances are you're going to get a clear sky one night, and then you're going to get like the aurora, you know, so you throw that into the mix. If you're there, you know, we was lucky when we was in Norway for a week, you know, we had the aurora 6 nights out of 7. But it was just, obviously it's luck, you know, we booked that like 8 months in advance or something. So we just struck lucky. But we've been to Iceland twice and we never got to see it at all because it was cloudy. So the longer you're there, like Stu was saying, the longer you're in a location, the more chance you've got in getting something kind of half decent.
And actually, I'd just sort of add to that as well. Another place I'd love to just spend a month just doing photography would be where I am now, for those same reasons. Because it's easy to think, oh, I live here, it's on my doorstep. But you know, you're so confined when you can only get out at weekends and when you know you have to put up with whatever the weather's doing at the weekend. If I just had 4 or 5 weeks of just not having to do anything other than photography, it would just make such a huge difference just to go out and explore and try different photographs in the areas I'm familiar with. And it just changes everything, really.
All right, so the flip side then, if you had to go somewhere for a month, but it would be your worst nightmare, where would be your worst nightmare for a whole month? I can't believe I'm here for 4 weeks.
What, from a photography perspective you're talking about? Here. Outside.
Milton Keynes. 4 weeks in Milton Keynes.
No, we're talking abroad now. Come on, we're talking abroad.
I'd probably choose New York. Or
What,
actually, no, I wouldn't choose New York. I'd choose Phoenix. I once had to go to Phoenix, and it's one of the. Sorry if anyone listening to this is from Phoenix, but it was one of the most boring places I've ever been to.
Abroad. See, I know you've been to this place, Gary, but it's never really been a place that I want to go and photograph, which is the Canary Islands and Lanzarote and places like that. It's just a very flat, a very dull volcanic island, in my opinion. There's not a lot of colour there, a lot going on. So if I was just photographing rocks for a month, would be a little
photographically, I'd struggle for a month, but there are some nice spots in Lanzarote. And there are some nice, I think Fuerteventura is pretty bleak. Not bleak, obviously it's a lovely place to go, but photography-wise, that's pretty bleak because it's very sort of Juney. But Lanzarote's not bad actually. You know, you've got some volcanic mountains there. You've got there's a shipwreck there, big shipwreck. There's some piers and stuff. There's some wildlife, not a lot of wildlife, but I couldn't stay there. Well, I could stay there for a month, definitely, but not just with photography.
Photography wise, no.
Yeah. I can kind of go with that. I think maybe somewhere like Benidorm might be a hell of a month for photography. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. You could do some sort of Martin Parr type stuff from there, couldn't you? You know, just getting people's faces and.
Yeah, you could. Yes,
Brits abroad and all that.
Yeah, you could. You could get some very sort of lobster grannies, couldn't you? And you know,
gammon.
Sort of,
lots of gammon.
Lots of gammon going on. You could probably
Union
get some
Jack bowler
hat. Yeah, and if you, I'd imagine if you slow the shutter speed down, you get some quite nice tracking shots of the wheelie, you know, the motorised scooters as they go past, because I think they're quite prevalent there as well. The old wheelchairs. Yeah, I don't know. It's difficult.
Long exposure.
Where's yours, Daz?
Well, do you know, I asked a question, but
and you've got no idea, have you?
Well, I can't. I think going back to like New York, any major city, I couldn't handle that. Any major city for a month, not just New York.
Yeah.
And then I was just trying to think of places that I haven't been to before, which is loads of them. But I was thinking about, kind of, I don't even know where they are, but anywhere that's really flat. I was thinking of like kind of America that's incredibly, like some parts are incredibly flat, which, are similar to here, or some parts of Australia, which are going to be. So, I think for me, anywhere that's flat or
hot.
anywhere that's,
hot and flat.
I'll tell you somewhere that doesn't appeal to me. That's quite a photography, not a mecca, but where is it that Thomas Heaton went in Africa?
Namibia.
With those trees. Namibia.
Yeah.
That doesn't do it for me at all.
I'd go there.
Because
because it's not just that. It's the fact that if I'm thinking of the right place, the massive dune network rises straight off the sea. So you've got some amazing stuff there, and then you can do some really good astro there as well because of the there's zero light pollution.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, take it back. Sorry.
A friend of mine has literally just got back from.
I wouldn't mind going there.
To Namibia.
What about what's that national park? Is it Zion in America?
Yeah.
That doesn't do it for me either. I don't think that's particularly.
No, do you know what? That does it for me. But what doesn't do it for me is that you have
is there any that I can just get right?
No, it's because you can't go there, can you, under your own steam? You have to get a bus. So you have to wait for a certain time and then queue up and then get the bus.
Nothing worse than being on a bus with other people.
Then you have to get out by a certain time. Yeah, I would feel very restricted on something like that.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you, Colin, for that. We've answered 2 of your questions now, so I hope you're appreciative. I think we've probably got time for, I reckon, 1 more. Right, so this is from Des Gardner. And he says, if you're a Catholic... No, he doesn't. He says, he says, 2 questions. Question 1, right? Why would any photographer want to buy a photo that someone else has taken? Surely the objective is to take the picture yourself and frame it, then hang it in pride of place in your home or office. Stu.
No, I don't.
Let's start with you, Stu, gallery owner Stu.
Yeah, why would anybody want to come in your gallery and buy your stuff, Stu? Come on.
God forbid, I know.
Elevator pitch.
No, I don't. I mean, yeah, your goal has to be obviously to produce something that you like of your own work that you want to put on the wall. Yeah, that's a given. But I think it's perfectly fine to also at the same time recognize the skill of other photographers and see an image that really grabs you, that you just love, forgetting the fact that it's another photographer or whatever. You just like it because you like it. So I mean, no, I don't really go along with that, to be honest. I mean, yeah, you want to produce stuff that you want to print yourself, but also I think it's perfectly... I mean, I've got photos from other photographers, and I think it's good to support other photographers in the community as well, just from that aspect. So, no, I think it's fine.
I agree, and I also think, well, ask yourself, why do we read other photographers' books?
Yeah.
If that were the case, why don't we just go and take the photos and make our own book up? It's because as photographers you can still appreciate good photography. That's the point, isn't it? You appreciate others' good photography as well as your own good photography. So I mean, I do get that. You like you say, you want to go out and get the photo yourself. Of course you do, but I just think sometimes you just have to appreciate the skill level and the images that other people take. And I'd have no problem buying photos, books, or anything from other photographers. I think it's, and I think it's good to support them as well, especially if you're not a professional and someone is, and they're trying to make a living out of it, and support their hard work. That's what I say, Stu.
No, I quite agree, especially photographers that are on YouTube. Because they do give a lot of their time for financially. I know it might benefit for like promoting workshops and stuff, but the money they kind of actually make on YouTube is very minimal, really. So I'm just echoing what Stuart just said and what you said, Gary. but I think one, because you like their work, but secondly, you're actually supporting kind of what they do. You're actually giving something back to that photographer.
Yeah.
Which I think, we should all be doing, especially if you follow a particular photographer on YouTube free of charge. Then I think, just even if it's a calendar, just stick your hand in your pocket once a year and give them 20 quid. It's cheaper than Netflix. It's cheaper than Apple TV. Well, it is, isn't it? 20 quid a year.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, then I think you're pretty stingy.
Yeah. Yeah. And on that note, sorry, if my insurance doesn't come through, I'll be setting up a GoFundMe page. So just remember all the hours I've given to you lot. Just remember that. All those hours.
Are you going to set up a GoFundMe page? You should do.
I think if my insurance doesn't come through, I've got no choice.
You should do.
So
you should do.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, go on.
I was going to use the analogy of you would never hear a professional musician saying that they only listen to their own music and they're not interested in listening to anyone else's music. It's almost the opposite. They would always talk about who their inspirations are and the music that they love, and they do it because it's, they love music in the same way as, we all love photography. I don't just love my own photography. In fact, quite the opposite most of the time. I love other people's photography. I get inspired by it. So I'll buy books because they inspire me. They make me want to improve my own photography. And yes, I have, my own pictures up on the wall, but I've got one or two prints from other photographers up on my walls as well, because they inspire me. I have a calendar. This was the first year actually I bought another photographer's calendar. Normally because I don't use calendars, but actually I've got a calendar hanging up over there, and I really, really like it. It's work that really inspires me. So, it's taking inspiration from the fact that, I love other photographers' work, so why not have prints and support them at the same time?
Absolutely.
Quite agree.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to add was that I think also it's what opportunity you've got yourself to produce the work that you want to put on the wall. Now, I've got shots on my wall that I'm happy with, but I haven't got the opportunity to probably visit some of the places that other photographers have done and have created some awesome photography that you can get inspired by. So, if you've got the opportunity to hang a picture on the wall of a photographer that you respect and you admire, but also it's a shot that you're probably unlikely to be able to get yourself for whatever reason, you can't get there, or you couldn't finance it, then why not do that? It's just if you like the image and you like the shot, then why not just get it while you can, rather than worry about whether it's a shot you've taken or not. Don't be proud. Don't be so sort of selfish about what you want to hang on your wall. It's about what you want at the end of the day. I remember when we went into Stu's gallery and that when we were doing the walk, and you just look around Stu's gallery and look at some of those shots, and you're thinking, I'd be happy to hang all of these on my wall, because they're so impactful when you see them as a print and framed.
Absolutely.
And you think, this is the stuff that you aspire to want to create, but you just don't have the opportunity to get out there and create images like that. So, why not buy them?
I was going to absolutely say that as well about Stu's gallery. Like from personal experience of going in Stu's gallery, every single photo image in his, other than one, which is, but the rest of them, they're really good. Oh dear.
Thank you.
Myself laugh. That's all right. You're welcome. And the second question from Des, I hope we've answered that, Des. Go out and buy a photo. Stop being so mean. No, we love you, really. The second question from Des is, has any of the Pubcast ever paid to go on a workshop?
No, I never have, never will.
No, I haven't.
Apart from next week.
Apart from next week, yeah.
And a couple of other times.
No, I'm at a workshop with Stu next week, and I'd like to go on many more to come. I just think that you could never stop learning. I think what Adam was talking about the other week when he said, sometimes people pay to go on his workshops, not because they want him to teach him anything, it's because they like being around other photographers. And then you almost learn off of each other. And that's been my experience, not just with landscape photography, but with astrophotography. I think when you're in a group of people, especially for, like a residential workshop or a long weekend or whatever it may be,
or a retreat.
You're a retreat.
Get the massages in.
I think you kind of learn as much from your fellow kind of workshop attendees than you perhaps would do possibly off of the host. So I'm a big supporter of workshops.
Yeah, I think if I had the funds to do workshops, I probably would go on a few, and for those reasons. And also, you're going on a workshop because you respect the photographer's work. So hopefully you're going to pick up a little bit that will rub off on you. But also, you never know what you're going to pick up on a workshop. You never know the little gems that you take away. I mean, I did a few with Dave back in the day, and some of the things people say, well, you said that one thing that you just take for granted. You take it totally for granted, and it just blew their minds. And they're like, "Oh my God, I never even realised that was why you used that, or that's why you did that." And I just think that one little thing sometimes that you might pick up might be just worth the money in itself. Plus, what a fantastic experience to be with someone who knows where they are. They know the land, they know the conditions. They're leading you to places that they know you're going to get, great shots from. And you're getting the little bit of tuition on top. It's a no-brainer if you've got the money, in my opinion. I would do it all day. There's many people I'd like to go on workshops with if I had the funds. Yeah. Okay. Great. All right. Well, we can have one more. That was quick. That's quicker than I thought. I thought that was going to take a long time, but it hasn't.
This is the night of 100 questions, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, this is what happens on these. They're quite snappy, and that's why I quite like them. Although we're running out now, so I did say we were going to end, but I think we'll do one more. In fact, it's sort of two more. Well, this is from Gary Stone, and I'm going to kind of miss out one of these here, where he says best and worst moments taking images. I'm just going to say best. What's your best moment that you can think of when going out and taking images? I'll start because I've got one. I'll start. Yeah. Mine is at Climperdan, the Lone Tree, which is a really, a really obvious shot that everyone takes, but I'd never taken it before, and I was quite early again into my photography. It was only probably a year in or so, and I was stood there taking the shot, and I was surprised because there was no one else there, and it's normally, you're normally queuing up, aren't you? But it was a really grey, miserable morning. It was sort of February, I think it was. And there was a woman who was sort of, I don't know if any of you guys have been there to take the shot, but you've got like the main shot, which is by a bench, but then there's like another little bay a bit slightly further round. And she was there because she'd not packed the right lens. She'd only got like a 200mm lens or something similar or whatever. Can't quite remember what it was, but the lens she had wouldn't have got the tree in and everything else. And I'm stood there sort of waiting for the light, and there's no light, and it's grey, it's really grey and dull, and we stood there for sort of 15 minutes chatting, and she went, anyway, I'm going to go. I don't think anything's going to happen now. And I was like, okay, well, all right, nice chatting to you, see you later. And like 10 minutes later, this shaft of light came, and it was just like, and it was one of those where you just, the shot in the camera, you just, like, I had to do nothing to it, like literally nothing in the edit. It's just there in the raw, and you just have to do the most minute sort of changes, and at that point it's like, I've got it. I've got the shot I wanted. I've got the shot I wanted and more. So that was probably probably my best moment, I would say, whilst out taking images. Very happy day.
Very good.
Excellent. Anyone else, or are you all miserable sods who've never had a good day?
No, I mean, I can. I was waiting because I've chatted a lot. Does anyone else want to go?
No, you go ahead.
Okay. Well, I think for me, it was actually, it certainly wasn't a great shot at all. In fact, it was a horrible shot, really. But it was when I was shooting the Astro for the first time. So I'd have a telescope, and you can look, obviously visual. You'll look through, and you can, if dark enough sky, you can actually see the Andromeda galaxy naked eye. But if you look at it through a telescope, again, it's just a little bit kind of cloudy, but you're you're looking at our nearest neighbour, you know, and it's really impressive. But then when you hook a DSLR, which I was using at the time, onto the scope, and then you use like a 30-second exposure, and that first image comes on the back of the screen, and you just see the detail that you just can't see like with the naked eye, or obviously visually through a telescope. I just remember just being blown away by that. Absolutely, you know. But I mean, you look at then obviously I've got a little bit more advanced in it, and my images were steadily getting better and better. But that first shot that I ever took, I think that'll always like hold a really special place in my heart, just because that was the first time I'd ever taken a photo that resembled something that other people took, not just like a little kind of milky patch on the sky.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice, Daz. Yeah, I can kind of, do you know, I can kind of echo that with the first time I did light trails of cars. Worst shot ever. Just a crappy shot, but to realise your camera can do that and go, oh my god, if I just leave the it's blown my mind that my camera can do this. I can't believe it. It looks amazing. It's the best thing ever. Do you know what I'm going to do with it? I'm going to make it black and white, but just have the red. I'll keep the red in. I'll colour pop it. Oh my god, that. You know, that will look brilliant. That is going to look so good. Everyone's going to go, wow, what a great shot you've got there. Yeah, no, I get that. Totally get that. Anyone else? Sam?
Yeah. I've got a few sort of memories of doing photography which stand out as being these really, really great evenings or mornings of photography, or great conditions happened, and I'd love to. There's sort of maybe a top 5 list in there. I think probably the one which stands out, if I had to pick one, is Vestrahorn, and it's not because I got any particularly great photographs there, because it was quite early on in my photography journey. So now when I look at the photographs, I think, or if I went back there now, I'd take very different shots. But it was just that moment of it was maybe the second time we'd been on a overseas trip that was going to a photography location that I'd seen before and wanted to go and photograph. So it was just that moment, because we were there before dawn and the sun rose and we were the first people there, and the light just burst out and hit those mountains. And you know, if most people will be familiar with that mountain range, and it was just that moment of it just got me in the heart and was just like, I'm here on this morning at this place which I've been kind of dreaming, because I was still at that stage of being so early in my photography, but it was one of those kind of aspirational places I'd like to go to one day. Then all of a sudden I was standing there watching the light hit those mountains. So I was just like, bam, this is what it's about. And as I say, I look back at the photos now, and you know, the photos aren't great, but I think that's the power of photography, and why I love it so much. Is it, for me, it's the memory of just being at that location and just that moment of just looking at it and being like, wow. And it was only because of photography that I was stood on that beach in that morning. So that stands out for me. Even, you know, it's not about the photographs. It's just about how photography got me to that place at that time and made me feel that way.
Totally. Photography, do you know, photography's got has done a lot for all of us, I think, because you're right, absolutely, that is totally right about, it gets you somewhere, doesn't it? It gives you a reason. It gives you a reason to be out experiencing the fantastic conditions that you're in, or nature, and it gives you that reason that you just wouldn't have without it. So yeah, that's got to be a great moment. Jamie, you got anything?
Well, just still on that point, actually, the one thing I was going to mention, it not necessarily a morning that I took the best advantage of photography, but back in, I think it was the second video I ever did on YouTube. I was in, so therefore it was quite early on in my sort of photography experiences as well. So it was at the Malverns, and I was with Andy Maguire and a few other people. At a Malverns, I think they call it the Malverns Weekenders or whatever at the time, but never been there before. And we went up to the top of one of the Malvern Hills, and we were treated to the most unreal scene because there was a full inversion. So there was a full temperature inversion. So there was literally the whole landscape was just covered in cloud. And then we had a sunrise because there was a lot of cloud above that as well. There was a lot of high cloud. And that just completely lit up. So the sky was on fire. The cloud base was still there with the inversion as well. And it was just, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. But I think because I hadn't been doing photography that long, I wasn't really ready to capture it as best as I could. So I literally just enjoyed the morning because I was with other photographers as well. So that helped, you just enjoy that experience. But that particular scene is probably the biggest thing from a conditions perspective that I've ever experienced. And it was amazing to watch. But yeah, I don't think I probably captured it as well. But looking back on it now, I've never ever experienced any conditions anywhere near that. In terms of the whole sort of eruption of colour and mist and fog or whatever. But so that was good. But I must admit, the other one that comes to mind is when we went to the Lake District. I think one of the first times we went there, when we went up Holme Fell, and that foggy morning at Holme Fell, and that was a wonderful morning, wasn't it? Because we had some great conditions. We had some lovely light. We had a bit of, I think there was a mild inversion as well in the valleys, and it was just absolutely a stunning morning and very memorable. Again, we were with, being with friends and other photographers helps to keep those memories. But I got some shots at that point that were definitely keepers. But again, just the memory of that particular morning, very, very stands in my mind for all the good reasons, really. So
totally, and again, some of the best moments spending time with you guys. Going out and doing stuff with you guys. It's been amazing. The places we've been to, do you remember that? Oh, I mean, like Daz and Jamie, that flipping beach. What was that bit? What was that? Where were we?
Cove Hive.
Cove Hive. Oh my God. That sunrise, which was just, was it like there was like the Sahara sand had been blown over and it was unbelievable sunrise. And the shots weren't amazing, but just doing that, Southwold was amazing as well. And then the time we spent in Scotland was amazing. Just, brilliant. Stu, have you got anything before we go?
Probably a couple that stand out. I won't go on too long with them. Probably the first one was about 18 months into my photography, and I was up Haystacks taking some shots in the summer of looking down on Buttermere, and it was the first time that, even though I've been doing photography about 18 months, in that time I hadn't really, because it's it's not a long period of time, but I hadn't seen amazing light at that point, and it was the first occasion where I'd seen light with my own eyes. That you see all these images when you start on places like Flickr and 500px and all that back then, and you see these, they almost look like they're photoshopped too much and they don't look real. And it was the first time I saw something with my own eyes that I thought, bloody hell, that doesn't even look real. You know what I mean? And I had the pleasure of photographing that for about an hour, where it was one of those shoots where it was quite unusual, because most of the time when you get amazing light like that, it's quite fleeting and it passes quite quickly. But this crack in the clouds had just sat there for about an hour, and it was just jet black clouds, and this massive beam of light was just sat there for, as I say, for maybe 3/4 of an hour or whatever. And I got a shot in that shoot that ended up doing really well in El Pote. It won the Sunday Times Award. And
I know that one.
Yeah.
Was it with the heather? Was it? Did it have heather?
Yeah. So yeah, probably that was the first one, and then the second one was last year in Lofoten, actually, because that was my first proper experience of seeing the Northern Lights. Because the first time we'd gone to Lofoten, we didn't see any. We had blizzards every day, which was great, but we didn't see any aurora. And by this point in my photography, obviously, you feel like you've seen pretty much every condition that you can think of. But that there was one particular evening, and it was just the most amazing display. And you if you as you're saying you've seen it, you just stand there just awestruck at it, don't you? Do you know what I mean? You don't know what to do you? So yeah, probably that is the second one, I'd say.
Brilliant. Well, hope that's answered your question, Gary. I mean, we didn't put the worst in because we've sort of talked about bad experiences quite a bit. So, but I'm sure that I'm sure it resonates with all of us, doesn't it? That a lot of it is just that moment where you've got just that fantastic photo, and maybe even though it's not that great now, it's just at the time it was so good. Anyway, I think with that, we'll call it a day. Thank you so much for watching. We might be here next week. I'm not sure because you two are in the photo, aren't you, Stu and Daz? So
yeah, I said last week if we can fit it in, we'll maybe jump on for 20 minutes or something on using the iPad or something and just say hello or whatever. But
okay, well we'll see where we're at with numbers, and hopefully we'll be back next week. But if we're not, then that'll be the last one that goes out before the photography show. So some of us will see you at the photography show on Saturday if you're interested in coming. Thank you so much for all of your questions. There's still a few more, there's still a few more. We might squeeze in another one. I know how much you love it, Jamie. We might squeeze in another one. We'll see. But thank you so much for watching. Anyway, we really appreciate it. Hopefully we'll be back next week. If not, then we'll be back in a couple of weeks with a bit of luck. Anyway, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Goodbye.
Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.